Ladies and gentlemen, let's all get seated. Thank you very much for making it to Geneva. I know that some of you came from the end of the world. We also welcome those online, and I would like to invite you to each time when you speak, use the microphones, because we need this for interpretation and for the hybrid event. I will not say much because I would just like to pass the floor to our Director General and would like to thank Dr. Ngozi that she's taking the time just on the busy day with the General Council to address the chairs and the board members. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. And I love the chatter. Welcome to all of you. It's so nice to have people in person. I understand it's 3 years since it was possible to have this in person. And of course, as you know, this is my first chairs program contact with all of you. So I'm delighted to see you and welcome. And I see some old friends. Pierre is there, Richard, you know, people I haven't seen for some time. So it's fantastic. Jan. So welcome to old and new friends. So let me start by recognizing the excellencies. I don't think Udo is here yet. Are you expecting? Okay. Okay. So we will have the permanent representative of France, Mr. Etienne Udo Danville, very soon with us. Yeah, Jeremy, thank you for joining us. Members of the WTO Chess Program Academic Advisory Board, ladies and gentlemen, guests, and DDG Jean, Werner, and Chief of Staff, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to this annual conference of the WTO Chess Program. It's a pleasure to see so many of you here in Geneva, as I said, for the first in-person annual conference since the pandemic. I myself have been on the road traveling, but I really did everything to try and make sure. I came back yesterday just so I could be part of this. So if my voice is not what it should be, I lost my voice. So bear with me. So let me first extend a very warm welcome to our newest cohort of 17 chairs. Many of you come from various regions, including Africa, Asia, Latin America. Some of you also represent least developed countries and countries in the process of acceding to the WTO. As you begin your journey with the chess program, I trust you'll find yourself in good company amidst a global network of trade experts in your fellow chairs from previous cycles, the academic advisory board members and the WTO Secretariat. So welcome. I would also like to welcome back our veteran chairs who have been with the program since its first and second cycles. Your active participation in the chess program through evidence-based research, specialized courses, and tailored advice to governments and other stakeholders is key to supporting national and regional trade policy formulation and lies at the very heart of the capacity building objectives of the program. To our academic advisory board, thank you so much for your relentless support of the chairs program, whether it's through your painstaking review of the 126 applications this cycle, or lending your expertise to the beneficiaries of the program, as we seek to strengthen the voice of those on the periphery whilst nurturing the next generation of trade leaders. Thank you. And let me also express our gratitude to our donor governments, especially France, Austria, Korea, Australia, and the Netherlands, who have been supporting this program in its third cycle, as well as in previous cycles. Without your funding and support, the chess program and the network would not be what it is today. You have made it possible that chairs have been successful in generating high quality research and impactful advice that translated into policy action on the ground in beneficiary countries. Independent external evaluations have confirmed that the CHESS program is unique in creating trade expertise on the ground and providing policy advice to governments and other stakeholders. The program that you fund as donors has generated excellent results and has shown to retain long-term sustainability for the chairs and beneficiary countries, even after the end of the funding cycle. Let me assure you that I'm committed to ensuring also on the Secretariat side, appropriate human resources and structures to implement the program in a way that this third cohort of chairs can deliver results that truly make an impact to those on the ground in the beneficiary countries and which advance the work of members in Geneva. Dear friends, in this current climate of geopolitical tension and amidst mounting crises in the economy, the climate change crisis, food supply, public health, and global security, trade can be an instrument for the greater socioeconomic inclusion to bring those operating on the margins of the global economy into the mainstream. I want you to know that this is my personal mantra. For too many, trade is seen as part of the problem and not part of the solution. And one of the reasons I took this job is because I strongly believe in the opposite. I believe in the power of trade as an instrument to help resolve the major crises of the global commons that the world is confronting at this time. And this is something that the Secretariat believes in and that members were bringing them along to believe in. This is why the WTO engages in technical assistance programs to build human and institutional capacities of our members to help them be part of this solution. The CHESS program in particular was conceived to do so by fostering knowledge and expertise in developing and least developed country members through the three pillars of research, curriculum development, and outreach. You are our people on the ground, and I hope that when I say we're part of the solution, you also feel it. For this program to reach its fullest potential, it's crucial that the work of chairs be driven by the needs and interests of policymakers, both in capitals and here in Geneva, to ensure that applied research, customized training and advice, and targeted outreach to key stakeholders speak to those needs and that they can be effectively implemented on the ground in home countries. But the role of the WTO chairs does not end there. Beyond relevance to national and regional needs, outputs generated by chairs must also speak to the needs of a reinvigorated multilateral trading system. They must pave the way for the implementation of what members have achieved in what is now called the Geneva Package at MC12. I'm not quite sure how I got that name, but the outcomes of MC12 have been termed the Geneva Package. I hope this package will respond to gaps and differences that members see in the work that we're doing. I therefore urge you to make the most of the session that you'll be having with the coordinators of WTO member groups to align your work as chairs with the key priorities of members for MC12 implementation, bearing in mind also how your work can impact and add value to discussions on issues for which multilateral consensus has yet to be achieved. I want you to know that the trip that I just came from was designed to start working on the implementation of this package, of the 10 outcomes, multilateral outcomes that we arrived at MC12. Of course, you have to know that we didn't know and think we could have such a successful MC12. But we were determined to have a positive outcome for a change for the organization. And I had defined personally that if we got 2 multilateral agreements, I would declare the meeting a success. We got 10 and we got 6 very clear, very difficult agreements that we were able to move through. But it's not enough to get the agreements. The issue is getting them implemented. And that's where you and your programs are going to be absolutely critical. I embarked on immediately after, just to show that getting agreement is not the objective. It is getting them implemented by going to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali, where there are 54 heads of state and government, and presenting the outcomes to them, and then explaining how they should follow up for implementation. From there, I went to the G7, where I must tell you, we had such a reception that made me feel that whatever sleepless nights we had, and as many of you know, we did not let members or ministers go home for 48 hours. I see Jeremy laughing. You know, it was a little bit hard, but that was a decision made because we had not gotten the outcomes, even the 2 I was expecting by the end of the 3 days. So we kept ministers here for 48 hours nonstop. What I did not realize is that the G7 leaders were monitoring the pace of negotiations during this time. So imagine my surprise when I arrived at the meeting to start with Chancellor Schultz expressing his thanks for a good WTO outcome, and particularly commenting on the TRIPS waiver. So I thought he was just being polite. But when we started the meeting with the other leaders, all of them, from Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, to Charles Michel, to President Macron, you were with me in the room. So the chief of staff was with me. So sometimes I tell him to speak, so I don't sound like I'm exaggerating. But I can tell you, from President Macron to President Biden, to Pierre Trudeau, to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Oh, he's still Prime Minister. Okay, yes, that is true. To President Ramaphosa of South Africa. I can name, they were all, who was invited also, and President Macky Sall of Senegal. Everyone was commenting on this WTO meeting and the outcomes. And they were saying thank you to the WTO and its members. I wanted to share that with you as a personal message so that you know that the WTO is being viewed now differently. And that was really one of the objectives I had in coming to this very important organization, which I felt was not really living up to the expectations and delivering, especially for developing countries, what it should, or even for the world at large. So to have these 7 leaders recognize that work had been done here by members, by ambassadors, by ministers who stayed the course and negotiated. You know, that it was very rough. It was not an easy 5 days. But to have them recognize that they had delivered this was very, very important. So I want to share that joy with you of what has been done, and to urge you to have this in mind, because the criticism of the WTO as dysfunctional, not producing, and so on, I think we are beginning to be able to set a new tone. Have we overcome that completely? The answer is no. We have not, because just getting one successful, even though monumental set of achievements, is not enough. We have to continue this trend. And I remember in the last General Council when members in Geneva were, you know, talking about, oh, you know, we were not in the room, it was not as inclusive, or this was not done. Or, I just said to them, I'm pushing back. Give me a break. You know, enjoy the successful change. Let's get back into this spirit. So that's what I also want to tell everybody. Let's focus on the successes. I think most members, it's now sunk in with ambassadors that this was actually achieved, and with ministers. So we have a lot to build on. I've gone off script as usual. But what I want to convey to you is that, look, we've got a lot to build on now, and it's up to you, you're on the ground, to be able to convey the new spirit of a new WTO. A new WTO that should now focus on implementing those agreements that we have. If we said for WFP, we are not going to have export restrictions on humanitarian food supplies. You see what's happening with prices in the international food, then we should not do it. And we should monitor it to make sure no country is being a barrier with trade restrictive measures to the WFP. If we say that we lower trade restrictions so that we don't impede the free flow of goods, of food, and agricultural supplies, then we should try to implement it. If we have a fisheries subsidies agreement that tries to speak to the sustainability of our fisheries that 260 million people worldwide depend on, and to our oceans, the first environmental agreement of this organization after 21 years, then let's quickly try to bring the agreement into what do you call it? I don't know it's ratification. 2/3 of members should deposit their instruments. And that's what I'm pushing. So I'm telling you this because I expect you to be part of that process of telling your countries they need to move. No longer do I want us to take 3 years to ratify an agreement. I'm pushing for 6 to 9 months because we don't have time. As we waste time, our oceans are being overfished. We are now at 50% of overfished stocks in our oceans, from 7% in 1970, 10% in 1970, sorry. So we have no time to waste. So please help us on the ground to tell your governments that they need to ratify this agreement quickly. We need 2/3, and all the countries, I'm telling all prime ministers and presidents and ministers, your countries first, I'm going to be talking about it, so that we know which members are moving faster than others. But we need your help to do that. The TRIPS waiver is a decision. So that means that countries that have manufacturing capacity can use it immediately if their legal environment allows it. They can use either administrative instruments, or if they must go to parliament, we are ready to help with capacity to try and support them to do that. Some countries have manufacturing capacity in Thailand, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in South Africa. They already have. Senegal is coming up, Rwanda. These countries should move quickly. Even my own country, I was urging them, they want to put manufacturing capacity on the ground. Move fast. You can use the decision now. So let me stop there. This is just to give you an idea of the things that we need to do to implement. And we're going to keep moving. We're not done. The fisheries agreement, we want to expand the disciplines and strengthen them by doing more on overfishing and overcapacity. Agriculture, we didn't make much headway. Even though we got the food security and WFP, we didn't make a breakthrough on the agriculture negotiations. And that's something that we are thinking about now. We must approach agriculture with a different mindset. We can't keep just making the same arguments we made before, coming at the negotiations with the same mindset and expecting a different result. And that's how we got these results here, because I was pretty bloody-minded about it. I'm pretty stubborn by telling people I'm not part of failure. I'm not used to failure, so we're not going to fail in this organization. You know, so we have to approach agriculture. We need new ideas. That's why I'm telling you about it. Those of you who have new ideas, you know about the negotiations. How can we approach this afresh? I've suggested that we have a retreat. The Keynes group, I think, is organizing a retreat of their own, but I want a retreat of all members to sit back, take stock, and think about how to think out of the box on agriculture, the same way we did with fish, so we can have some success. And you all are the intellectual powerhouse we have. Who can help us? Just think a little bit out of the box. So I'm giving you an assignment. Every time I speak to people about WTO, I give them homework. Even the heads of state, I give them homework. And which one of you is going to come forward first to deposit your instrument? So for you, I need you to think about the agriculture negotiations, even if it's not your area, you know about it. How can we approach it afresh? this is too important an area to just leave and abandon for another 20. The same way we made a breakthrough in fish, we must do it in agriculture. So by the end of this session, I would like you to, if you have any new ideas, even tomorrow, is it tomorrow I'll be joining you for a conversation. That's how much I value you. I want to come and sit with you and have a dialogue, listen to you and your advice, answer any questions that you have that we could answer. You know, so now Verna and DDG Zhang are probably upset with me because I haven't read the rest of the speech. But, you know, I've said what I want to say to you and we'll engage tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Of course, the speech was better than what we prepared. And we thank you so much for recognizing the role of the chairs program and for this inspiring, encouraging speech. Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you. I'll be with you tomorrow. Have a great day.
You also, Dr. Wright, and we continue with DDG Zhang, who has been, oh, I always do that myself. Thank you very much, DDG Zhang. I think without you, the third phase of the chairs program would not have happened. I think you have been extremely supportive to the program, and I would like to invite you to deliver your remarks.
Thank you, Werner. Good morning. And first of all, I would like to join DD to welcome our chairholders from Africa, Asia, and Latin America, along with our esteemed academic advisory board members. This conference is the perfect opportunity for chairs from different circles and board members to join force and share experience and best practice. And this week, the goal of this conference is to take full advantage of the collective knowledge that our global chairs network brings to the table, and to do this alongside the internal expertise of secretariat experts and the first-hand insight of the ambassadors involved in accomplishing the MC result. DG just shared with us her insight on the importance and implication of the MC12. We will have several panels on that. These panels will focus on the key outcomes of MC12, including the WTO's response to the COVID-19 crisis and the TRIPS waiver, the food security, the fishery agreement, environmental and the climate change issues. I would like to emphasize the role of the chairs network in ensuring the effective implementation and the better understanding of this agreement on the ground. As an illustration, the chairs network to support the ratification process of the fishery agreement and the developing outreach activities for parliamentary to achieve this. More than ever, we rely on our chairs to be the source of training and research on novel issues and questions unresolved, as DG mentioned, like the issues of agriculture, paving the way for the next ministerial conference, building upon the success of MC12 Geneva package. I'm pleased to welcome the coordinators of group of WTO members to a session where they will be sharing their priorities for applied research, customized training, and targeted outreach, and the needs of members from their region more generally. Through this session, the foundation for intensified communication and cooperation between the chairs and the Geneva delegations can be formed. As we launch into this discussion, I also would like to join DD to thank our donors for their support for this program. They have been some of the very first to recognize the value that this network brings to the developing and the least developed members and the observers of the WTO. I thank in particular France, represented by His Excellency Ambassador Etienne de Ville, and the Minister Councillor Jeremy Green, the Deputy Permanent Representative of Australia, for being here today. I wish to also express my gratitude to Director General Zimmermann of Ministry of Labor and Economic Affairs of Austria join online, as well as the Republic of Korea that will be represented at another session, and the Netherlands for their support. Their efforts to ensure the success of program and expectations of the excellent have been a driving force behind the launch of the third circle of CHAIRS program. I would like to stop here, and I'm looking forward to listen to your insight. Thank you.
Thank you, DDG Zhang, and also for co-designing this program with elements of implementation and looking forward, surveying MC12 results and so on. We will continue this discussion with you later and also in the concluding session. While we are getting ready for Ambassador Etienne Udo de Durnville, who will join us online, I would also like to recognize Minister Councillor Jung-Wan Lee from Korea, who represents Korea today. He has been incredibly supportive of the program along with his ambassadors and with the trade minister, and we understand that the deputy minister of foreign affairs will join the Aid for Trade sessions on Wednesday, and she will deliver a statement on Wednesday in a public session that we organize jointly with the Aid for Trade session. And with this, I would like to pass the floor to Ambassador Etienne from France. I would also like to thank Hortense Nesseler and Hélène Verdure for all their support for the CHAIRS program. Can we connect with France?
Bonjour, je ne sais pas si vous m'entendez. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Werner?
Oui, ça marche. Juste un instant, les professeurs doivent utiliser le earphones. Merci. Ça va.
Monsieur le directeur général adjoint Zhang, monsieur le directeur Zdouk, mesdames et messieurs les responsables des chaires de l'OMC, chers collègues, d'abord permettez-moi de m'excuser, il y a eu un petit malentendu, donc je pensais être avec vous ce matin, mais je dois finalement faire mon intervention à distance. En tout cas, un grand merci, cher Zhang, cher Werner, pour votre invitation ce matin. La France est un des principaux pays donateurs du programme des chaires, peut-être le premier. Et à ce titre, on m'a demandé de prendre aussi la parole ce matin. Nous avons fait le choix de financer ce programme il y a quelques années d'assistance technique de l'OMC parce que c'est vraiment un programme dans lequel nous croyons et dans l'efficacité duquel nous croyons. D'abord, la France est un pays traditionnellement de débat, parfois de discussions enflammées, où on pratique avec beaucoup de régularité l'échange, l'art du contradictoire. Mais surtout, nous voulons, avec ce programme des chaires, encourager la recherche scientifique, les échanges éclairés par l'émulation intellectuelle, et tout ça dans l'objectif de parvenir à des points communs, à des points de compréhension communs entre nous, au bénéfice d'un système commercial multilatéral qui profite à tous, ce que un économiste français du 19e siècle, Frédéric Bastiat, assez connu pour être un des pionniers du libéralisme politique et économique en France, appelait l'harmonie des intérêts. Ce débat universitaire, nous comptons beaucoup sur vos travaux, le travail des chaires, des experts, vos étudiants, les professeurs aussi, pour qu'ils viennent alimenter le débat public, mais aussi susciter l'intérêt des entreprises pour le système commercial multilatéral, et puis enfin apporter aux politiques en charge des négociations des recommandations de politique économique. Nous espérons, nous comptons, Madame la directrice générale de l'OMC, dans son propos introductif, mentionnait par exemple le projet de faire une retraite à la rentrée pour avancer avec des idées neuves sur certains thèmes de négociation, comme par exemple l'agriculture. Nous sommes convaincus que le programme des chaires peut, par cette mise en commun de travaux universitaires, de points de vue venant de différentes régions du monde, aider à renouveler, à définir de nouveaux points de vue sur le système commercial multilatéral. Je ne voudrais pas être plus long, mais une nouvelle fois, vous remercier pour votre engagement et vous confirmer l'intérêt de la France pour ce programme des chairs de l'OMC. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, pour le soutien de la France et pour tout l'appui que vous personnellement apportez à notre programme depuis assez longtemps déjà. Et comme donateur principal, la France a vraiment une place spéciale pour les chairs, pour les membres du conseil administratif aussi. Merci beaucoup. I should have said, so we have in channel 1 English, channel 2 is le français, et el número 3 es en castellano, la traducción en castellano. I would like to pass the floor next to the representative of Australia, another donor of the chairs program, Mr. Jeremy Green, Deputy Permanent Representative. The floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody, and good morning. Thank you, DDD Zhang, for your leadership of this program, together with Director Werner Zuk, ambassadors and other distinguished representatives, and importantly, the WTO chairs themselves. I confess to being a little fanboying, a little bit, having seen so many faces now of people whose papers I've read. And so it's lovely to see you here in Geneva. I guess the point is that as a trade policy practitioner, we do devour, digest, read, learn from you as much as I hope you learn from us. So I'd like to encourage you to continue your work, because it's extremely valuable as we seek to put it in practice, both here in Geneva and in capitals. So thank you very much from me at the outset. For Australia, the Chairs program has a unique value proposition. First, it promises a lasting systemic impact, helping to embed trade policy knowledge and understanding across academia, but also, as I just suggested, across government, facilitating the transfer of this knowledge so that it can inform policy officials and decision makers. Second, it promotes connectedness, whether it's to bridge gaps on complex policy questions, promoting an exchange between academia and government, or between chairs. And I heard already quite a bit of this morning over your very first coffee. The program ensures information and policy analysis can flow widely between WTO members, their institutions and people. And third, it fosters original, thoughtful policy analysis and research. At a time in which the multilateral trading system matters more than ever, the thinking that you bring to this debate can help find new ways to reinvigorate and strengthen the system, as well as national and global trade policy making. And thank you to the DG and DDG for pointing out this, particularly for agriculture. It will be no surprise to anyone in this room that for Australia, that is a matter of critical import. We're excited to see the contributions of the WTO chairs through this and future programs. We know from our experience that the work of the chairs is most effective when it is evidence-based and responsive to need and interest. But you don't need me to tell you that, you're already well on the way. Having just come out of MC12, we, Australia, have been reflecting on the need for stronger evidence and data. Sometimes here, it does feel like we're talking past each other. And much of that has to do with the fact that we are approaching the same problem with sometimes different understandings. Strong evidence and data-based research can help bridge those gaps. Research must, of course, also be pragmatic and responsive. And there is certainly a great opportunity now after MC12 to focus research on matters of significant and current interest to the WTO and WTO members. And I think the sessions this week will do a lot to inform us of those concerns. In conclusion, I just want to once again say how proud Australia is to be a supporter of this program. We're very excited to see the most recent phase, phase 3, include regional diversity and some additional chairs from the Indo-Pacific region, and welcome to all of you here. We're a long way away sometimes, but it is very nice that we're able to travel here in person after 3 years of virtual meetings. I think this connectedness and these relationships will help contribute to a stronger multilateral trading system. We are looking forward to the rest of the conference and continued cooperation with the program, and wish you a fruitful and hopefully relatively cool stay here in Geneva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. This is very important to have the support of Australia. And as you mentioned, we have a lot of vibrant chairs and also vibrant candidate chairs from the Indo-Pacific region. One thing the DG didn't mention when she deviated from her script is that's one of her personal commitments is to develop this into a rolling program with additional, more frequent additions to the program on a more frequent basis. And that, of course, will offer the opportunity. And Australia's support is very, very welcome for our program. The same is true for Austria. We understand that Deputy Director General, Deputy Minister of Labour and Economic Affairs, Cynthia Zimmermann from Vienna, is participating with a recorded message, which I hope we will be able to play now. Thank you. Again, please, channel 2 in French, channel 3 in
General
Spanish.
Dr. Antonio Eviala. Director General Dr. Antonio Eviala. Deputy Director General Chang, His Excellency Monsieur Udo de Neuville, Permanent Representative of France to the World Trade Organization, Mr. Green, Deputy Permanent Representative of Australia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be addressing you today at this annual conference of the World Trade Organization Chairs Program. My heartfelt congratulations to the Chairs Program on the widening of your network, greater diversity and inclusivity. I'm delighted at the increase in the number of female chairs, and particularly recognize the new chairs from least developed countries such as Ethiopia, Lesotho, Nepal, Rwanda, and Tanzania. As a key donor for this new phase of the Chairs Program, Austria is very proud to support a capacity building and development program that brings significant benefits to developing and least developed countries across all continents. We believe that in order to fully and effectively participate in this work at a multilateral level, it is crucial that developing and least developed country members have access to technical support and relevant scientific analysis of issues that strike at the very heart of their needs and interests. The World Trade Organization has been earnest in its technical support to members. I urge chairs to leverage on this support, particularly through the Chairs Program and the WCP network, to develop tailor-made expertise domestically at universities, which can then be integrated into policymaking at home and here in Geneva for a more holistic representation at a multilateral level. As such, I'm very pleased to see the chairs conducting research on a broad variety of topical issues, including some that are very, very dear to me personally and to our ministry, such as the area of digital trade and e-commerce, which bears a significant impact on all sectors of trade, but also the importance of instituting a comprehensive and cohesive global response for a green and resilient recovery from the pandemic and reforming of the World Trade Organization. to steer it back to relevance as a key regulator and rule maker within the multilateral trading system. Through the chairs program, the World Trade Organization extends the reach of its technical assistance activities, involving university chairs that serve as multipliers in beneficiary countries. Notably, the program plays a key role in building human and institutional capacities in beneficiary countries to empower them to take advantage of the rules-based multilateral trading system. And as a representative of a donor country, I'm proud that independent external evaluations have reported that the CHAIRS program has greatly benefited developing and least developed country members. The program generates excellent long-term sustainability by capitalizing on academic specialization and increasing capacity in the beneficiary countries at the selected universities. So the network of chairs established through the program also remains a vibrant one. I'm very, very pleased this first in-person conference of chairs from all 3 program cycles and together with the advisory board is being held this week in Geneva. And I would like to encourage all participants to seize this wonderful opportunity to explore collaboration across disciplines, across generation of chairs, and across regions. With such initiatives and collaboration, the program will yield fruitful research outcomes in national and regional trade dialogues, which will no doubt serve as building blocks for the multilateral trading system. Thank you, and I wish all the chairs and the program every success. Many greetings from Vienna. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Austria is also a key donor, and as you could hear, certain topics lie particularly close to the heart of the minister or the deputy minister. I would also like to take this opportunity now to address some words to you, since we talked bilaterally to some of you. First of all, I also would want to welcome those joining us online, for example, board member Trudy Harzenberg or Peter van den Bosch, who cannot be with us physically, are online, and also some of our chairs from China, but also from Africa have joined us online. Please let us know if you have connection problems. We will all use the microphone so that you can fully participate. Thank you, DDG Zhang. Thank you, Ambassador Green. Thank you, Ambassador Etienne Udedo-Denville, and also we see now Hortense with us. Welcome, one great supporter for the program also. As I said, we will have a very intense program over the next 3 days. It's great to have you all back here. Some of them came literally from the end of the world. Especially the new chairs are very much welcome. I know we had an intense period with going through your budget and activity plans. I would also like to thank the board members for their contribution in that context. We welcome our experienced chairs who have built up the tradition, and you have made the chairs program what it is now. Without you, this tradition and this positive evaluations that are being repeatedly cited wouldn't exist. I would also especially thank the Academic Advisory Board. What you have done free of charge over the last year when we were faced with 126 applications from 54 countries was incredible. So much effort, so much dedication to making the best choices. I would also like to thank DDG Zhang for that, and also the DG who personally reviewed the recommendations developed by the advisory team. Because we also had a number of participants, experts from other divisions in the house who helped us in the selection process. Also, they have been invited, and some of them are joining us online for this session. As you know, the SANA report recommended some reforms, greater inclusion and representation of LDCs and underrepresented regions, more integration with different parts of the Secretariat on research and technical assistance, Also, this has been accomplished, as you can see, with the program today, where we are joined by several divisions of the WTO, co-designing and co-organizing sessions presenting the MC12 results. I'm also very proud about the involvement of the donors, with my special thanks to France, Australia, Austria, and Korea. And we welcome Deputy Foreign Minister on Wednesday. I'm jumping through my notes a little bit in order to save time, but I wanted to say one thing. Probably my most special thanks go to the WCP team. Without Sandra Rossier, this meeting and the whole process would not have happened. Andreas Senekamp has been a great leader who makes things run so well and so seamlessly, even though the enormous work, administrative work arises. Mustafa Sani Jalab has been focusing on research and outreach, connecting with so many delegates and chairs and board members. And I would like to thank Grace Fenn, Daniel Orlov, Pascal Brumenaka, Joan Lim, Cengen Yagveta, and for their relentless and excellent work. You have been incredibly important for us, for me. Without all your work during the selection process, during the reporting, and now in organizing the launch events and this event, nothing would have been possible. And I would also recognize Hanna Heikila, our administrator of the KMD division, who also keeps an overview and always knows where to step in to help. And she and Sandra are just an incredible team. Without you, this would not have been possible. Over the next 3 years, I was going to say, over the next 3 days, DDG Jung has already outlined the building blocks of the program. We've invited a lot of speakers from the delegations, from the negotiating groups. All the DDGs will present from the area they oversee on fisheries, on food security, on TRIPS. We have the negotiating leaders from the TRIPS Council, from the CTE, from the fisheries negotiating group, and many other divisions joining us: Environment Division, Agriculture Division, Economic Research Division, IPD Division. The ITTC has brought you all here. And these 8 panels should be very fruitful in updating you on what the results are of the negotiations of the DG. Has been quite inspiring on what waits for us to implement and to think further on unfinished business like agriculture. I hope that you can gain from this conference a platform to meet with senior management. There will be a session tomorrow with the DG. DDG Jung will participate in many sessions, and we will provide you the forum to interchange with ambassadors and chairs and DDGs, and with the board members. And of course, you should get to know each other. You should learn from each other, benefit from different generations of the chairs. But one thing I want to make very clear from the outset: despite the number of external speakers which were necessary for reaching out to our donors, beneficiaries, and to cover the outcomes of MC12, we also want to focus that this annual conference is working on the implementation of MC12, but also we want to make these sessions meaningful in producing outputs on the classic pillars. We will soon shift to a session on research. We will then follow with a session on curriculum development and on outreach. And it's very important to us that we produce concrete results. We've been inviting moderators and the board members who are on the various sessions to draw conclusions. We invite every chair to do that too. We will have a session on Wednesday afternoon where we want to concretely come up with results of what we want to do on research, on curriculum development, on outreach, also in terms of topics that have been inspired by the exchanges with the negotiators and with senior management. And we would like to put together concrete results. I'm very encouraged by the active role that the moderators have already taken in reaching out to the participants in the various sessions. And I've seen a lot of emails going around by chairs announcing what they want to present from the experience of the past, but also the new ideas of the future generation of the phase 3. As the DG said, we should think outside the box. We will have a public session jointly with Aid for Trade, and most importantly, also a session with the country group coordinators. We are in the dark. We don't know what they will say. We reached out to them 2 months ago so they could consult their constituents in the ACP group, in the African group. The LDC group was invited but couldn't attend, unfortunately. Also BRULAC and the vulnerable economies group. We will have to be acting and responding on the fly without much preparation to what they will have to say. But we wanted to intertwine the program, as the DG Zhang and the DG always are saying, as much as possible with policymakers. We will also talk about multi-stakeholders that now dominate. It's also NGOs, it's business associations that are relevant for our work. All of this should be possible over the next 2-3 days. And we hope to write down and come up with concrete conclusions that will inspire our work over the coming months and year, directed at us in the Secretariat, at yourself as chairs from phase 3, as the experienced chairs that need to remain a vibrant network, the board members, senior management, and maybe also donors and beneficiary countries. So with all this, I think I should hand over to Sandra, who I think we have some logistic announcements also. Not right now. At 11. Okay, that has been changed. So the logistical exercise will be at 11 then. Okay. So after the next session, then we probably should shift gears into the first session. So thank you very much. So we will have in a couple of minutes, the research session, which will be chaired by Aleko. And I would invite, if you want to speak from the floor, it's fine. But if you want to come up front here, I would invite Professor Ige, Professor Guy, Professor Viviers from South Africa, Rosemary, Victor Sacco, Peter is online. You can also join the floor here.
They can say their writing. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In person, finally.
Finally in person.
You know, put the taxi this morning, halfway around Geneva.